as we continue our week highlighting men's mental health, our first guest today is bravely opening up about an addiction which has controlled much of his life.
Since first viewing sexual content at just 11 years old, Ben Lennard struggled with a porn addiction for over a decade. He joins us now alongside psychotherapist Kathleen Saxton. Good morning to you both.
Morning.
Very nice to meet you. So this all started when you were about 11 and you were just watching a regular movie, essentially.
Yeah, so it started at a very, very young age, and I kind of like came across a movie that had quite explicit stuff on it, not fully, and it kind of gave me that craving to like, I want to see more of this, and then I became into porn.
Right.
And
But Ben, that's quite a leap. I mean, you're 11 years old and you're watching a film that has a graphic sex scene or adult content in it, albeit appropriate for whatever it's not going to be hardcore, is it, at that point? When did it become something more than that? And when did your curiosity to see more of this become something more like a dependence?
It happened very shortly after. Like, I'd probably say like a couple months after watching the movie. And I was like, I really want to see more of this. And then I came across porn online. And I was like, oh, don't mind if I diddly-do. So I had a little, like, cheeky little look at it, and then, yeah, just kind of stuck with me ever since. And I thought it's probably normal for my age because I'm a teenager, do you know what I mean? So.
And at that specific age, how easy was it for you to get hold of?
I mean, you know, back then it was very easy.
Right.
Because everyone will send you stuff. Everything's easy to access online.
Yeah.
I think, like, nowadays is a bit more complicated than that, which I'll get into a bit later. But, yeah, no, it was just so much easier back then, you know.
You've said by the time you were 16, you were watching daily. Did you talk to your mates about it? Were you sharing some of this stuff with them? What was their sort of take on their watching of porn? Yeah,
I mean, I kind of had to hide it, the fact from that I was addicted to it. I mean, it was kind of like a lot of banter that I had with my mates. You know, and it kind of the fact that I was just compressing what was actually wrong with it, you know.
But you knew you had to hide it. You knew that your desire to see more of it wasn't normal.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I lost my virginity at the age of 16, and I then began to find more and more sexual partners, and that was obviously influenced from porn.
Yeah, because I was going to ask you, how did it then... Because obviously 11 is very young, and then it accelerated really quickly from what you said. Yeah. So then how does then that affect your relationships that you go on to have?
Yeah, I mean, when I was obviously 16, I was single and at the age to do sexual stuff. And at that age, I was kind of loving it because it was like a pick-a-mix, do you know what I mean? And... yeah, I guess after that, it kind of put a barrier there when I started dating and things like that. And I guess where I compare myself a lot to porn, it kind of doubted my relationships, thinking I won't be...
Did it give you unrealistic expectations of what to expect in a sexual relationship?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, porn is nothing like reality, you know. You go in there with a head thinking, you know, this is going to be me. And then you're worried that you're going to disappoint your partner. You know, when I was dating in the past, it was a bit complicated because if someone was to cheat on me or leave me, I'd then think, because of that, you know, I'm not good enough, or I'd compare myself. But that's just the reality of it.
It led to your need and urge to watch porn and consume porn led to quite an embarrassing occasion at your mate's house, didn't it?
I've had many of them. Yeah, I mean, there was a time where... You know, I thought, you know, I might sneak off and have a bit of self-romance, and then...
Because you're with a load of your mates at their house?
Yeah, and I literally was halfway through it, and I was like, I've just clocked there's no sound. And I was like, oh, no, it's connected to the Bluetooth, innit?
So the sound was actually being broadcast into the living room?
Yeah, and then I was like, oh, no, because I heard my name being shouted, and then when I walked out, I was like, you disturbed my story, so I'm not even sorry. So
you just styled it out?
Yeah, I style everything out because, like, humour's kind of how I cover everything up, you know what I mean?
Question for you. Did you ever talk to your family about sex, or what was your sex education like at school? Or did the porn basically kind of form your expectations and what you thought real life was all about.
Yeah, I mean, in school, I didn't really ask questions that I wanted to know because I felt too embarrassed in front of my classmates. And I guess from a young age, I never really felt confident enough to speak to my family about it because I thought it was just weird. Do you know what I mean? And it's something I've always kept to myself, and I just let the problem grow and grow and grow. I mean, I think in this generation, kids are young, so they're introduced to tablets, phones. I mean, when I was their age, I was building dens in the woods and eating mud. Do you know what I mean? So I think these days, the education system, I don't know what they teach now. I mean, they could be teaching reality, but they might not. I don't know, but I think it's very, very good to put that across.
Yeah, I think the sexual education has changed significantly in sort of the last 15, 20 years. That's for sure, through my experience of watching and understanding what my boys have experienced at 18 and 20, and it's absolutely vital. How bad did it get, Ben, and when did you realise you needed to do something about it?
See, the thing is, through school, I've always had self-doubt. You know, I've always thought, oh, I'm not good enough. I was never getting anything in classes. I was always being the class clown. You know, I always felt this urge of loneliness and self-hatred, and I've never felt good enough. And I've always, all my life, I've had low self-esteem. And it was only the most recent years it got really bad. You know, I felt like for the past, God knows how many years since I was in school, I've felt like I've been thrown in a dark room and just trapped there for years and years and years. And you know, it feels amazing, being able to sit here, you know, and talk about this openly to the public as well. And obviously, I didn't realise until last year when I finished filming a documentary with the BBC that I got diagnosed with ADHD. So that kind of made me wake up, and I was like, wow, that's just answered my whole life that I sat in darkness with. And yeah, all I want to do right now is, I know it's a bit of a brave move, coming on shows and talking about this kind of stuff, but thanks to the Lad Bible, they kind of gave me an opportunity. It was the last piece of the puzzle that was in my life that needed to be solved, because the sex stuff I kind of put aside, and I never really spoke about it openly. And everything else, I was having so much therapy, and I think nowadays I'm trying to navigate, therapy in the sex kind of side of things and the addictions, because with ADHD you already have low self-esteem. Unfortunately, that's just the way it is, and you're much more likely to have addictions such as substances, porn addiction, gambling, things like that, you know. And I've been to AA meetings before, and that's kind of what I'm seeking at the moment. I mean, I do want to get a therapist, but things like that take time.
Yeah.
And it was only, I think, this year that the government stopped the porn websites. And
in July, they put the age restrictions on.
It was July, yeah. So that kind of stopped me from accessing all the websites. And obviously, the other side of things is that I was in a group chat with thousands of content, and it was kind of a hard moment for me because I changed my number. So I kind of went cold turkey on everything. And then I kind of started replacing everything with hobbies. You know, I'd take my car for a drive, listen to a bit of Britney Spears, go down the beach at midnight and look at the beach chickens. Do you know what I mean? So, but yeah, there's many things you can do to fill that gap while you're seeking the help. Or, you know, for me, it's the hardest part is trying to find the right help, because you've got to put your trust in someone. But until then, there's always ways around it, like AA meetings and
groups.
Groups, yeah. I've been to them before, for other reasons, but they do help. They really do.
Kathleen, specifically with this kind of addiction, groups really do help, because this kind of addiction is incredibly isolating in comparison to other addictions.
That's right. It's really isolating because there's the additional sort of layer of shame that's associated with the sexual content to some degree. And it's often a singular activity that you're doing, unlike other addictions that you might do as a group, let's say. So I think there's something about that. And Ben, I absolutely applaud you for coming on and doing the documentaries as well that you've done, because it is much more rife than we care to want to believe. Just over 10% of men in the UK will say that they feel that they are addicted to pornography in some form. And I think that we're not willing yet, I think even as parents, to get comfortable with statistics around how early, as it happened for you, Ben, that children are getting exposed to this level of content and what's happening. I think what happened in July with the change in the law has had a huge effect. I mean, traffic to these sites is down significantly because of it. And I think there's something about consciously putting your ID or your credit card details into a computer, I think is making people take reflection of how comfortable am I really to admit to myself, never mind others, that this is becoming a bit of an issue. And so I think, and the ADHD element to it as well, Ben, is the extra layer, because activity for busy brains, activity for loneliness, isolation, boredom, low self-esteem, we go and find other things to self-medicate with, and pornography is one of those things. It could be alcohol, it could be work addiction, it could be other things. But I think pornography was so easy to access, and that's been the difficulty for certain. I think we've got 4 million internet sites offering pornography.
4 million.
Wow.
And the #1 site had traffic of 42 billion viewers in the last year alone, just one site. So it shows you the magnitude.
It's an incredibly lucrative industry for those people, so it's not going to be in their interest to try and make this harder to get at, which is why the age restrictions has had an impact, although, of course, people will argue that there's ways around it.
Yeah.
When does an interest in adult content become an addiction? And also, Kathleen, if there's going to be parents at home who will be sitting there thinking, you know, my children are going to be exposed to this, my teenagers are going to be interested in it, they're going to be sharing it with their friends. How do we help them navigate that part?
Yeah, exactly. So for the addiction side of it, everybody's levelling can be different. Some may have the occasional view for laughs, and that's up for them. I think it's when we start to feel there's a compulsive element to our behaviour. So the impulse turns to a compulsiveness. If you find yourself becoming irritated that you can't get access to, or you decide that you're not going to go out because you'd rather stay at home and access the content. So I think in ourselves, we know when it's starting to tip into a different space, and that's when to consider that the issues with it. Now, for children, it's tricky because the social media platforms, I sit on the board of NSPCC, we lobby all the time for the social platforms to take action, because whether it's Twitter or Snap, etc., you can access a lot of this content if you are looking for it, despite your age. A lot of children are working using VPNs. They're finding other ways to access this site outside of using the ID. So children are smart and bright and resourceful, and we want them to be.
Tech-savvy.
But they're very tech-savvy, and they'll find their own way. What I think is interesting about your story, Ben, is how you've sort of gone cold turkey with it, because I think, to your point about WhatsApp groups for children, to your question, Ben, they're being sent stuff by their friends, and it's seen as you're going to get left out, or there's peer pressure to kind of get involved in all of this as well. How do we educate our children to be more respectful, resilient and wise about it? And actually the points about why is it being made and the commercial modelling of that, even to tell our children, be wise to the fact that someone's making money out of this. There's something about educating them beyond just, of course, the sexual barriers and sexual respect. There's something about them being wise that someone's making money out of you watching this as well.
That's a really smart way.
And I wonder how kids would really feel about that, so that they get wise enough. So lots of things we can do. I know we're going to come on to that later, but I think there's something about how do we finally tackle it? It feels like, Ben, you became so conscious of what was going on for you that you decided to take control of it, and that's the most important thing we can do.
Yeah, definitely.
You did a great job, Ben.
Yeah.
Well done. And thank you, as we've all said, for coming and sharing it, because undoubtedly it's going to make a difference, isn't it?
All I want to do is help people, so that's my motivation.
You are.
Excellent.
You absolutely
Thank you. If you or someone you know has been affected by porn addiction, there's information and helplines on our website.
Oh, hello. Thank you for visiting our This Morning YouTube channel. We upload tons of new content every single day. So hit the subscribe button, like all the videos, and don't miss out. We'll see you in the morning.